With me today from, well, both the CCA and Irvine Clinical Research, we have first Lisa Colavita. I'm introducing her first because she's right next to me. How you doing, Lisa?
Hi, good to see you.
With Community Civic Association. And of course, Dr. Trina Iggy with Irvine Clinical Research and the Healthy Brain Club and Tongue Out and the Sandal Club of America.
And the nails.
And the nails, the Nail Club of America.
The nails yellow today. Yellow with glitters.
Yes.
With glitters.
Good to see you today. What we're talking about is going to be the topic of the upcoming CCA meeting on the 24th?
May 24th.
Okay.
8:30 in the morning. Clubhouse 5.
Clubhouse 5 is medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of the things you're going to kind of get into is, of course, the opioid use and how that's gotten out of hand. And my first question is, are we replacing one drug with another? And I think for a lot of people, that's a question. And of course, particularly for maybe people who are become addicted to opioids, mm-hmm. or maybe they are alcoholics or something where they would rather get off everything altogether. But let's talk about that for a minute.
That's a great question. And it's a question that is brought up all the time by folks who are concerned. And my background in this is growing up in a really conservative family. Mm-hmm. And as long as I have known and have been taught, marijuana has always been a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's
sure.
a stigma.
Me too.
And when I think of marijuana, I think of like a pothead. I think of somebody mm-hmm. at home smoking, having no job, and you know, yeah. that's my thought process. That's a picture that I see.
Yes.
When it comes to marijuana. Mm-hmm. As a physician, though, and as someone who specializes in clinical research, yeah. I see the data coming out mm-hmm. on cannabis, and it's making my world go a little bit upside down mm-hmm. With that. Last week, it was a CNN special. Dr. Sanjay Gupta did a presentation specifically on the opioid epidemic.
Right.
And in his presentation, he presented studies that have recently been published mm-hmm. Showing that those states that legalize marijuana are showing less deaths from opioid overdoses mm-hmm. and epidemics. As a matter of fact, the number of prescriptions for opioids, when I say opioids, I'm talking about OxyContin, right. Vicodin, Percocet.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people may not know they may know those brand names, so to speak, right. but mm-hmm. not what that is.
That's right.
And is that mostly painkillers, or does it cover other things as well?
Painkillers most of the time.
Okay.
And chronic pain affects 1
right.
out of 3 Americans.
Right.
And as the older we get, the more chronic pain issues we have.
Okay.
And as physicians, you know, if your Tylenol doesn't work, if your ibuprofen doesn't work, you know, we turn to these heavier stuff.
Right.
The Norcos, Vicodins, OxyContins, stuff that we prescribe regularly, mm-hmm. and people are dying from it.
Yeah.
People are dying from it. They're overdosing, they're addicted. So the question that Dr. Sanjay Gupta presented is marijuana an appropriate alternative for pain control? Mm-hmm. And is it safer
right.
than opioids? And the data that has been presented and shown through his show was that over 40,000 people die a year from opioid abuse, opioid addiction and overdose. And he states that there has been no cases of deaths from marijuana abuse or overdose.
Yeah.
And the data was just glaring. Mm-hmm. And it makes us physicians think twice. Yeah. Especially with our training, our upbringing, and everything we've been taught about marijuana. Yeah. With that.
Yeah, I think at least, and I'm going to say kind of like my view, and it's probably your view and maybe yours as well, and I'm sure you'll talk about this at CCA. I think when it comes to cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, If somebody went to a doctor and got a prescription in the form of a pill or whatever it might be with it, what's the compound in marijuana that's the
There's several compounds.
Right.
There is THC,
Okay.
tetrahydrocannabinol, which is a compound that gives you the high component. And then there's CBD, which is a second compound that is used probably by 80% of folks who use medical marijuana. And that compound doesn't give you that psychoactive high that we associate with marijuana. With that, so it's a number of compounds.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point. I think if people are more accepting, is they go to their physician, they come back with a pill or whatever it may be, but going somewhere and lighting up, that's a whole different thing to a lot of people for many, many reasons, and exactly the reasons that you said.
Yeah, at the CCA, we want to be an information source for everybody on brain health in general, universal brain health. So this is one of the alternative therapies that's medical marijuana, and so it's good to have this information out to everybody on what the Dr. Trin's opinion is on it. And we're having a lot of success, and people are interested. They want to know more, good, bad, and otherwise. If you don't have the information, then you're missing. So you need to know everything you can about it before you start to consider it.
Yeah. Doctor, again, back to opioids. Is this something, we're kind of seeing a trend, maybe a good trend, and it was talked a lot about during the presidential election. And it didn't matter what side it was, whether it was now President Trump or it was Bernie Sanders, it's about the only thing they agreed on. I mean, seriously, they were like, they both admitted they agreed about the opioid addiction. Is there still a place for opioids? Should there be the community of medical professionals that look at it like, we've got to stop just automatically prescribing this. We really have to look at the situation.
There is a place for opioids. Opioids will take care of chronic pain conditions that typical non-opioid medications cannot take care of. So we, as physicians, prescribe it. We prescribe it judiciously. But there is that addictive potential, and there is that harm potential of overdose, where thousands of Americans die every year because of the addiction and the overdose associated with opioids. And so it's a national concern.
It is.
That is on the news all the time.
I know some states, and I don't know if California is one of them, is even looking at not banning them, but looking hard at the procedures of prescribing them. And I don't really know what the the ins and outs of even if it's an assembly bill yet or something, but it's talked about in many states. We've got to. It's as if we've gone too far one way. We got to steer the medical community the other way, whether that's good or bad. But we're hearing about this everywhere.
Right. There is legislation, including in California, and multiple other states developing legislation to restrict opioid use for appropriate reasons. What Dr. Sanjay Gupta is saying in his presentation on CNN was that perhaps marijuana or medical marijuana is an alternative to, and he presented data to show that it was a good alternative.
That'll be interesting. And I'm sure anybody, you could probably go to CNN.com and look up his name, and you can probably see that very easily because they post all that. So again, the CCA meeting is coming up on the 24th.
24th, and it will be at 8:30 in the morning, and we're going to go over the current uses, pros and cons, open up for questions and answers. We'll also be talking about, what the Orange County's position is on it right now, on as far as the legalities of it. But as far as, and then we'll have people there speaking that are actually, have testimonials, people speaking that want to speak and say their experiences with it. We're getting a lot of feedback. And we did a presentation earlier this month in the community center for the neuro support group, and we had about 50 people there, and it was very well received. And Dr. Trin went over the history of marijuana and where we are with the medical marijuana, a lot about the chemical,
Yeah.
which is difficult to understand, but he
Right.
makes it easy to understand.
I think that'll be very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out recently that the Cannabis Club in Laguna Woods is one of the largest clubs in California with
Wow.
over 400 members and growing. So I was taken aback by hearing that.
Yeah.
But, apparently, I'm sure seniors aren't signing up just so they can be high.
Yeah.
Seniors are signing up because it's taking care of many medical conditions, including chronic pain.
Yeah. Very
That-
good.
Yeah.
Great to have you both on.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. And by the way, if you ever want to sign up for Dr. Trin's free consultation, which has to do with Alzheimer's, you can at healthybrainclub.com. We didn't talk about that today because
All right.
we're talking about the upcoming CCA topic, but you can always go to that website and find out more about that. Good to
All
see you.
right.
Lisa,
Thank
take
you.
care of yourself.
Thanks so much.
Iggy, as always,
Yeah, good
take
to
care,
see
buddy.
ya.
All right, we'll be right back.